When did your promised raise evaporate into corporate slime and toxic Discord drama? Okay, deep breaths. I'm posting this at 3:17 a.m. and my hands are still shaking, which is probably why I've already spilled my third cup of lukewarm instant coffee all over my beat-up 2018 Honda Civic dashboard. I just found out I am not getting the raise I was promised, which sucks. But the reason why is the kind of corporate slime that makes you want to burn the whole internet down. I am Justin Gallagher, 44M. And honestly, the only thing keeping me from screaming right now is the sheer exhaustion of realizing I'm basically collateral damage in a toxic Discord server masquerading as a startup. I need to vent this out, mainly because if I don't document it now, I might forget the specific sequence of pure unadulterated BS that led to me staring down the barrel of $1,247 rent on my own this month, with that crushing student loan debt just sitting there like a weight on my chest. Seriously, I need to know, am I being dramatic or is this genuinely insane? So context first. I work remotely as a community manager for evaporate Games, which sounds cool, but it's really just managing a massive, unruly Discord server and wrangling a crew of volunteer mods. I've been here 2 years and 8 months, clocking in 50+ hours a week, and running the whole operation out of my spare bedroom in apartment 3B, a room which is now entirely filled with IKEA furniture I regret buying. My main crew, the ones who make the server actually function, are two amazing kids who deserve so much better than this mess. Samantha Brooks, 18F, and Terry Patel, 23M. Sam, honestly, she's a genius. She's 18 but acts like she's 40. She handles the moderation bots and the serious compliance stuff. She's the protective sibling type, always worried about her younger brother and fiercely loyal. She's got that Android Samsung Galaxy naturally that's always dying at 3%, but she somehow manages to reply faster than anyone else. Terry, on the other hand, he's the artistic soul. He manages all the community events, the graphics, the Twitch streams. He's a struggling artist in real life, constantly juggling freelance commissions and trying to make rent in his tiny studio. He needs this mod income, even though it's barely minimum wage NGL to survive. He's always on his cheap laptop, drawing even during our mandatory Tuesday 11:47 a.m. staff calls. I love these guys, but they're both getting strung along by evaporate just as hard as I am. The raise thing, that was supposed to be my saving grace. My current pay is absolute garbage for the hours I put in, and last week my landlord hit me with a rent increase notice, and I had that emergency $85 plumber charge because my sink exploded. Plus my Visa bill is currently sitting at $347 after I tried to buy groceries at Costco because everything is cheaper there, right? And then had to immediately pivot to a sad $43.67 run to Trader Joe's for basics. The money stress is real. My contract review was scheduled for last Friday. I prepped for a solid week. I documented every successful event, every major security breach I prevented, there were many, and the growth metrics. I asked for a modest 10% increase. Modest considering I handle 3 distinct roles. I had the call with Mitch, our department head. Mitch is exactly the kind of guy who constantly references The Office but missed the whole point of it. He's all smiles and toxic positivity. The call was Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. right when I was making myself a sad frozen dinner. Mitch started the call all chipper. Hey Justin, great chat scheduled here. Love the energy you bring to the evaporate fam. We've seen massive growth and that's largely on your shoulders. Internal monologue, yes. Get to the money part, Mitch. I need this. Me trying to be professional even though my phone battery was at 12%. Thanks, Mitch. I appreciate that. I'm eager to discuss the compensation adjustment. I believe the data supports the proposed 10% increase for the expanded duties. And here's the kicker, the actual quote I will never forget. Mitch didn't even skip a beat. He was probably drinking some overpriced Starbucks coffee while saying this. Mitch, well, we reviewed that, Justin, and frankly, while your performance metrics are stellar, we just can't justify a salary increase right now. We're actually instituting a global compensation freeze for all non-executive staff. Tough market, you know, but hey, maybe we can offer you an extra 2 PTO days this year. Think of the work-life balance. I literally felt my stomach drop out the bottom of my 20-year-old desk chair. 2 PTO days, I had 17 unused PTO hours from last year already. I was going nowhere because I couldn't afford a plane ticket anyway. Wait, a compensation freeze. Mitch, I was explicitly told by HR that performance reviews included salary adjustment. Mitch, still smiling, still giving major gaslighting vibes. Oh, those general guidelines. Yeah, things changed just last week. We had a surprise capital expenditure come up, a big one. Really important for the future of evaporate, you get it. Look, just keep crushing it, Justin, and we'll revisit this next quarter. Okay. I mumbled something about needing to process this and hung up, staring at my cracked iPhone 14 screen. My notifications were at 47, but I couldn't look at them. I was done, just done. I was devastated, but then the anger started boiling. A surprise capital expenditure, right? What big surprise expense warrants freezing everyone's pay while the execs are still driving their new BMWs? I saw the CEO's car on Instagram NGL. It was obnoxious. This is where the documenting thing started. I decided I wasn't just going to take Mitch's word for it. I was going to find out what the surprise expenditure was. I went straight to the evaporate internal Discord server, not the public one, but the staff-only zone. I went to the internal finance channel. It's usually just boilerplate stuff and automated budget summaries, but I noticed something weird. About 6 weeks ago, when I was actually drafting my raise proposal, there was a flurry of internal communication about a major upcoming project labeled Project Chimera. It was hush-hush, but I saw mentions of a $200,000 budget allocation marked as urgent development. I figured maybe that was the expenditure. But $200K shouldn't wipe out the entire compensation budget for everyone. The math wasn't mathing. I messaged Samantha 18F immediately. She's the tech guru and the most reliable person I know. Hey Sam, super fast question. You still keeping an eye on the server logs for general weirdness? Sam texted back instantly, which is her superpower. Sam, yeah, I monitor the data streams for compliance purposes. What's up? Is Chad posting those annoying memes again? Chad is a moderator who is perpetually useless. Me worse. I got the runaround on my raise. Just citing a surprise capital expenditure. I'm looking at Project Chimera in finance. Does that look like $200K worth of damage to you, Sam? Elmau, no, $200K is nothing to them. I saw that project update. BTW, the code for Chimera is really messy. Whoever did it skipped all the QA. Then she typed this. Sam, wait, Justin, I saw something unrelated that was way bigger. I ignored it because it was off-channel and encrypted, but I can look closer. Me encrypted where, Sam? It was a private group chat between Mitch, the CEO, and the silent partner. They sometimes use a custom channel I didn't even know existed until I set up the new admin audit logging function 2 weeks ago. I only saw the transaction because it triggered a large sum transfer alert. My heart started racing, like actual physical pounding in my chest. I felt that dizzy, heavy feeling you get right before you realize something really bad is happening. Me, Sam, what kind of transfer? How large, Sam? I only have the metadata. It was tagged Chimera Overrun, but the amount was $1.5 million. I swear I almost threw up my lukewarm instant coffee. $1.5 million. That's enough to fund my raise, Terry's raise, and probably half the other underpaid staff. That is a massive sudden drain on resources. I instantly thought of Terry Patel, 23M. He had been struggling so hard lately. He had been so stressed out about his client commissions drying up that he was relying heavily on the EtherSync gig, even skipping meals sometimes just to pay for art supplies. He'd even tried to put a $200 withdrawal on Venmo to cover his electric bill last week, only to realize he was broke. I pinged Terry privately, laying out the raise situation but leaving out the $1.5 million detail just in case. Hey man, quick heads up, corporate is being a pain about compensation. How are you holding up with your finances? Terry replied 2 minutes later, not even trying to hide his stress. Terry, dude, seriously, they cut my monthly stipend for community events by 30% this week. I was counting on that for rent. I just had to call my mom and ask for $50. I feel like an absolute child. They said it was a budget reallocation due to unforeseen operational costs. Unforeseen operational costs. Surprise capital expenditure. The language was identical. They were systematically choking out the operational budget to cover this massive, secretive $1.5 million expense. I went back to Sam. I needed that metadata. I knew that looking into a private, encrypted executive chat was technically crossing a major boundary, but they just denied me money I desperately needed while pulling this corporate shell game. Honestly, I didn't care about the boundary anymore. Sam, I need you to pull those specific logs. The Chimera Overrun transfer, I need the date, the recipient, and anything that hints at what this $1.5 million was for. If they're lying to us about a freeze, we need proof. Sam, being the genius she is, didn't hesitate. Sam, K just gotta run the decryption algorithm and bypass the hash lock. Give me 30 minutes. I spent the next 30 minutes pacing my tiny apartment 3B, ignoring the Ring doorbell notifications because I didn't want to talk to anyone. I scrolled mindlessly through TikTok, watching strangers dance, trying to quiet the voice in my head that was screaming WHISTLEBLOWER. Your career is over. Then my phone buzzed. It wasn't a text. It was a file transfer alert from Sam. The file name was literally AETHER audit Chimera Overrun red.txt. I opened the file. It was raw data, lines and lines of code, but Sam had highlighted the key transfer details at the top. Date, October 27, 2023, last Friday, amount, $1,500,000 USD, recipient, Sentinel Ventures LLC memo, acquisition fee, strategic assets. I've never heard of Sentinel Ventures LLC. That didn't sound like game development or server costs. That sounded like a payoff. Or some kind of shady deal. But the next highlighted part made my blood run cold. It wasn't about the money, it was about us. Sam had managed to capture a snippet of the encrypted conversation that took place immediately after the transfer went through last Friday. CEO, it's done. That covers the assets. Mitch, make sure the community staff are handled. Mitch, already initiated the comp freeze on the mid-level and volunteers. Gallagher, Patel, and the others. They'll grumble about the PTO, but they'll settle down. It buys us 3 quarters of silence. The silent partner, excellent. We need zero visibility on the strategic assets acquisition until the merger is finalized, especially from the internal community. They are too observant. They called us observant. They knew we were paying attention, and they actively planned to shut us up by denying us the money we needed to survive. Gallagher, Patel, and the others. We were just items on a checklist to be handled. I immediately sent the raw file to Terry along with a screenshot of the 3 most damning lines of dialogue. Me, read this. They explicitly targeted us to buy 3 quarters of silence. Terry replied almost instantly with a triple text. Terry, what? Terry, you are seriously? They cut my stipend to cover this bullshit? Terry, Sentinel Ventures, I've heard that name somewhere. I think it was that messy IP dispute a few months ago. Terry was right. I vaguely remembered the IP dispute. EtherSync had been accused of plagiarizing concept art for their biggest upcoming title. The community was in an uproar, but the company managed to squash the rumors pretty quickly. Me, Terry, Sam, get on a voice chat now, not Discord, Signal, or something encrypted. We need to talk about what we just found. We hopped onto a secure voice call on Signal 5 minutes later. Terry sounded furious, like he was vibrating with rage. Sam was dead calm, which is usually more terrifying. Terry, Justin, I can't believe this. They knew I was stressing about money. Mitch knew I was trying to get a small commission finalized and he still took my stipend. They're just calling us assets they need to keep quiet. Sam, it's worse than that, guys. I just did a quick search on Sentinel Ventures LLC. They specialize in intellectual property resolution and acquisition. And look at this. Their CEO is listed as C. Vance. Does that name ring a bell? I racked my brain. C. Vance. Vance me. Wait a minute. Wasn't that the lead artist for Nova Forge Games, the company that accused evaporate of stealing their concept art 6 months ago? I remember seeing his Twitter profile, Vance something Sam, Charles Vance. And look at his most recent LinkedIn update posted today at 11:00 a.m. It says he's retiring early to pursue independent consulting opportunities. The silence on the line was thick. The dots started connecting and it felt like a horrifying, dizzying spiral. $1.5 million to Sentinel Ventures LLC run by Charles Vance. Vance retires the day after the transaction. evaporate institutes a compensation freeze citing a massive expense, explicitly targeting the observant staff to buy 3/4 of silence. It wasn't a surprise expenditure. It was a massive last-minute payoff to the artist whose work they stole, structured as an acquisition fee to cover up the IP theft right before a major merger was supposed to happen. We were being punished, denied necessary raises and stipends to cover the cost of corporate crime and silence us. Terry was livid. I'm going public. I'm taking the art assets I created for them, putting them on Twitter and exposing this. I don't care about my job anymore. This is criminal. Sam, ever the pragmatist. Wait, don't go public yet, Terry. They'll bury us instantly and they'll say the logs are fabricated. They'll try to sue us into oblivion. Sam is right. We need more than just one log entry and a LinkedIn profile. We need to document everything. Every single lie, every transaction, every moment they tried to manipulate us. This is my job now. My student loan debt is staring at me and I am furious, but now I am focused. If they want silence, they're going to get the opposite. Me, Sam, can you continuously audit that private channel? Every message, every file, send it to me immediately. I want all the receipts. Sam, already set up the funnel, Justin. Everything they say is going straight to an encrypted external drive. I'm naming the project Project Hydra. If they cut off one of us, the others still have the files. Terry, I'll start looking through all the old IP documents, see if I can find the original files Vance claimed they stole. I'm an artist. I know what fraudulent tracing looks like. We had a plan, a desperate, possibly career-ending plan. I hung up the signal call and immediately started backing up every single work email, chat history, and document I had. I was so wired I couldn't even feel my hands shaking anymore. I was thinking about how Mitch had looked me dead in the virtual eyes and given me that toxic positivity speech about work-life balance while stealing my livelihood to cover up a $1.5 million theft. The audacity was truly stunning. I knew this was going to get ugly, but if I didn't fight back, they would just move on and do this to the next group of desperate, underpaid workers. I was ready. I opened my external hard drive, created a folder labeled evidence, and started dragging files over. And then, as I was mid-transfer, a notification popped up on my desktop. It was a direct internal message on the staff server, not from Mitch but from the CEO himself, a guy who never ever messaged staff directly. CEO message: Justin, I need to talk to you about the access privileges granted to a certain junior moderator. Call me immediately. My blood ran cold. He didn't say Sam's name, but he knew. They knew we were looking and they were coming for us. I grabbed my phone, fingers hovering over the call button. He was calling me personally. Did they think I was the weak link? Did they know everything? I looked at the evidence folder sitting on my desktop, half filled with logs. I hadn't finished backing it up yet. I didn't call him back, not yet. I just needed to secure the data. I had about 4,000 documents queued for transfer and the progress bar was sitting at 12%. I knew if I picked up that call, they would find a way to remote access my accounts or distract me long enough to delete everything Sam had sent. My phone buzzed again. 27 calls in 1 minute, all from evaporate corporate numbers. My anxiety level shot through the roof. I hit pause on the file transfer and ran to the kitchen, grabbing the hard drive. I needed to hide it. Now. And then I saw the light blink on my Ring doorbell app, notifying me of motion outside my apartment 3B door. It was 3:45 a.m. I slowly clicked the notification open, half expecting a delivery guy. It wasn't a delivery guy. It was Mitch standing on my front porch in the middle of the night, looking dead serious, holding his phone up to his ear, probably still trying to call me. He was wearing a dark jacket and he looked less like a corporate head and more like a stalker. He raised his hand and started knocking hard on my door. I muted the microphone on the Ring app and stared at his face, framed by the bad porch light. Mitch outside my door, yelling loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Justin, open up. We need to have a serious conversation about your security practices right now. This is for your own good. Okay, deep breaths again. I need to continue this before I forget how fast my heart was beating. NGL. I left off right when Mitch, the toxic positivity gaslighter, was pounding on my apartment 3B door at 3:45 a.m. yelling about security practices. I was frozen. I had the external hard drive clutched in my hand, sitting at 12% transfer completion, and Mitch was literally 3 feet away from me. My apartment complex is the type where the floorboards creak if you look at them wrong, so silence was not an option. First thought, I am 44 years old. Why is my manager staking out my Honda Civic in the middle of the night like a bad spy movie villain? Second thought, they must have tracked Sam's decryption process. They knew she was accessing the private channel. I stayed absolutely still. I muted the Ring app volume so he wouldn't hear the muffled sound of my breath or the frantic whirring of the hard drive. Yes, it's an old one, TBH. Mitch pounded again. Harder. Mitch, voice getting louder. Justin, I know you're in there. Turn on the light. We need to settle this immediately or HR is going to have to get involved, and you know how messy that can be. Messy? You flew across the country and drove to my apartment complex to harass me at 3:45 a.m. Mitch, that's the definition of messy. I looked down at the hard drive, 14% slow, painfully slow. I couldn't risk him hearing the power cable unplug, and I definitely couldn't risk him talking his way in here. I texted Sam and Terry on Signal. Me 911, Mitch is at my door. Literally, 3:45 a.m. says we need to talk security. Sam responded in milliseconds, of course. Sam, what? That's illegal harassment, Justin. Don't open the door. I'm hitting the remote kill switch on the server for 30 seconds. Disconnect the drive now. Me, it's only at 15%. I need to wait. Sam, no, he's trying to stall you. If they know I set up the funnel, they are probably trying to lock me out and remote wipe my logs. Your drive is the only backup. Disconnect and hide it. Now, I didn't hesitate this time. Sam's voice, even in text, carries that cold, clear logic that overrides my panic. I yanked the USB cable from the laptop. The hard drive immediately stopped humming. 15% secured, better than nothing. I grabbed the hard drive, bolted across the room, praying the ancient laminate floor wouldn't squeak, and shoved the drive deep inside a box of unused tax documents from 2017, the most boring hiding spot possible. Then I dove onto my bed, trying to look like I had just woken up. Mitch was still yelling. He had started threatening to call the complex manager. I grabbed my phone, opened the front door camera feed, and spoke into the Ring microphone, trying to sound groggy and completely confused. Me, who is this? What in the world? It's almost 4 a.m. Mitch immediately stopped pounding. He took a step back, straightening his expensive-looking Patagonia vest and GL. Even in the middle of the night, he looked like he was ready for a tech summit. Mitch, Justin, thank goodness. Look, I am so sorry about the hour, but this is extremely urgent. I was in the area, had a late dinner meeting, and I noticed some unauthorized activity on the EtherSync network originating from your physical address. Lies, all lies. He was waiting for me to call the CEO back, and when I didn't, they sent him to intimidate me. Me, unauthorized activity? Mitch, I've been asleep for hours. My work laptop is powered off. I'm honestly quite startled that you're here. This is extremely inappropriate. Mitch tried the toxic positivity again. He actually chuckled nervously. Mitch, haha, look, I get it, bad timing, my bad, but we need to look at your personal workstation, just a quick audit to clear up this security vulnerability. It'll take 10 minutes, just open up. Me, absolutely not. Mitch, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you are not entering my apartment at 4 a.m. Any security issue needs to be handled through official channels during business hours via written HR request. If you don't leave my property right now, I am calling the police for harassment. I felt the power shift. He wasn't expecting me to stand up to him, especially not when he was physically intimidating me. He went from chipper corporate gaslighter to furious exposed liar in 3 seconds flat. Mitch, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper, Justin, you need to be smart about this. We know you access sensitive material. We know you involve the junior staff. If you cooperate now, we can make this go away. We can reevaluate the compensation situation next quarter. Just give me the log files. Bingo, they knew me. I have no idea what you're talking about, Mitch. I am hanging up the Ring line now. I suggest you drive back to whatever overpriced hotel you're staying at before the police get here. I hung up, heart still hammering, and just stood in the middle of my dark apartment. I watched the Ring feed for another 5 minutes. He stood there clearly debating his next move, then got into his car, a black Audi because of course, and drove away slowly. It was 4:15 a.m. I was awake and I was fired up. The fallout begins day one. I couldn't sleep, obviously. I spent the next 4 hours finishing the backup transfer onto the now hidden hard drive, transferring the secured files onto a second, smaller thumb drive hidden inside a dried-up glue stick. Genius, Sam's idea. I also deleted all signal history on my phone, just in case they managed to compromise my devices later. At 8:00 a.m., the official corporate hammer dropped. It wasn't a call. It wasn't an email. It was a Discord notification pinned to the staff announcements channel, visible only to management and mods. From HR Global Compliance subject. Immediate administrative leave and system access suspension effective immediately. The following employees have been placed on mandatory paid administrative leave pending an internal investigation into severe security and privacy breaches. Justin Gallagher, Samantha Brooks, and Terry Patel. All access credentials, Discord, internal drives, company email, and associated accounts have been revoked immediately. Failure to comply with this suspension will result in immediate termination and potential legal action. My stomach twisted into a knot. Terry and Sam, they got them too. They weren't just targeting me, they froze us out just like they froze our pay. I immediately texted Terry and Sam on Signal Me. They hit us all. Admin leave, access revoked. Terry, I saw it. I was literally mid-drawing a community badge design when I got logged out. Paid leave, bullshit. They are trying to cover their tracks. Sam, paid is irrelevant. They locked me out of all my audit tools. They know I was the one who pulled the data. I'm already changing my personal passwords. Justin, is your drive secure? Me, hidden and copied, safe. Terry, this is officially a war, guys. I need to make some money though. My rent is due in a week. I'm seriously panicking. That admin leave pay won't hit until the usual payday. Me, stay calm, Terry. Focus on your freelance work. This leave is proof we were right. They wouldn't suspend us all if the logs were meaningless. Sam, exactly. They are scared. They think this buys them silence. We need to prove them wrong. Terry had a point about the money though. Paid administrative leave sounds fine, but it's contingent on them actually paying us on time, and my current account balance was sitting at $143.21. Plus my landlord was already hovering about the rent. The financial pressure was suffocating. So 2 days later, Friday, I was sitting in my living room wearing the same sweatpants, trying to figure out if I needed to sell my gently used Kindle for emergency funds. The first blow came from an unexpected source, the community. Since we were all locked out, the three of us couldn't communicate with the volunteer moderators or the users. Mitch and the CEO immediately started spinning a narrative. Terry, who was obsessively checking Twitter and Reddit, since we couldn't access Discord, forwarded me a screenshot of a statement the CEO had posted on the main EtherSync Twitter. CEO statement, We deeply regret the current situation regarding some key staff members. Recent breaches of trust involving unauthorized access to confidential financial information and potential internal sabotage have necessitated immediate administrative action. We value transparency and assure the community that these individuals acted alone, driven by disgruntled motives after routine performance reviews showed areas needing improvement. My blood pressure spiked. Areas needing improvement, my review metrics were stellar. They were trying to paint us as rogue, greedy employees who were mad about not getting a raise, trying to steal company secrets. Terry was livid. Disgruntled motives, I needed that $50 stipend, Justin. They know that. Sam, however, saw the opportunity. Sam, they are overplaying their hand. They didn't just fire us, they put us on paid leave and blamed us for disgruntled motives after routine performance reviews. That sounds like a cover-up because they can't afford to fire us before the merger. Me? What merger? Sam, the silent partner, Sentinel Ventures. Justin, I did more deep diving while the server was down. Sentinel Ventures isn't just IP resolution. They were the shell company used to acquire Charles Vance's assets, so EthaSync could merge with a much larger competitor, a firm called Onyx Holdings. Onyx is huge. They won't touch EthaSync if there's any whiff of IP fraud. This wasn't about a raise anymore. This was about a $1.5 million cover-up designed to protect a multi-billion-dollar corporate merger, and we were the $30,000 a year people they sacrificed. Me, okay, new plan. We don't go public on Reddit yet. We need an airtight legal strategy. We need to leverage this knowledge. Fast forward to Monday, the lawyer consultation. I used $300 of my remaining money for a 1-hour consultation with an employment lawyer recommended by my aunt's friend. His name was Mr. Harrison, and he looked exactly like what you expect an expensive, tired lawyer to look like. I showed him the file, the $1.5 million transfer memo, the internal chat logs where Mitch said we needed to be handled for 3/4 of silence, and the official administrative leave notice. Mr. Harrison stared at the screen, took off his glasses, and sighed. Mr. Harrison, Mr. Gallagher, this is very juicy. If this confirms IP theft and subsequent attempts to conceal corporate assets, you have a solid whistleblower case, but it's going to be extremely expensive and dangerous. Me, dangerous, Mr. Harrison. You are dealing with high-level corporate fraud designed to facilitate a major merger. They will come after you with everything they have. They will attack your reputation, your finances, and potentially your life outside of work. The cease and desist letters alone will cost you thousands to defend. He laid out the financial reality. To move forward with a full investigation and protection under state and federal whistleblower acts, I needed a retainer of $15,000 immediately. I almost laughed. I had $143.21 in my checking account. My student loan debt was a brick wall, and I was eating cold leftover spaghetti for lunch. $15,000 was Martian currency to me. I don't have that kind of capital, Mr. Harrison. I was denied a modest raise because of this exact transfer. He was sympathetic but firm. Mr. Harrison, then you need to proceed with extreme caution. Your best leverage right now is the threat of going public and destroying the merger before it closes, but you must have undeniable, verifiable proof. Raw logs aren't enough, you need context. Bank records, official merger documents, things you can't access. He gave me one piece of critical advice. Document the financial impact of their actions immediately. If they claim we were disgruntled and underperforming, our immediate financial instability is the proof that their compensation freeze and stipend cuts were punitive, not routine. We needed to show that Terry was relying on that stipend for rent, that my raise denial meant I couldn't pay essential bills. I left that meeting feeling absolutely defeated, standing in the hot California sun, wondering how I was going to pay the $30 parking fee. The law wasn't designed for the little guy. It was designed to protect the $1.5 million companies. A week went by where I just felt numb. I was still getting paid the admin leave stipend, but I felt parasitic just sitting at home watching my life fall apart while waiting for the axe. The student loan crush was getting worse. I missed the first $400 payment, which immediately tanked my credit score by 30 points. NGL, I checked, and it hurt. The anxiety was constant. I stress ate an entire bag of Costco trail mix in one sitting. During this week, I focused solely on documentation as per Mr. Harrison's advice. Project Hydra Phase 2 Financial Impact 1, Justin's Impact 44M. I pulled my bank records. I documented the rent increase notice, the $85 plumbing charge, and the missed student loan payment. I screenshotted Mitch's raise denial email and attached my original approved performance review metrics highlighting the discrepancy. 2. Terry's Impact 23M. Terry was struggling badly. He sent me screenshots of his landlord warnings and proof of his reduced event stipend, showing he was $500 short on rent this month. He also found old Venmo requests where he had genuinely tried to ask friends for small loans, proving his desperation before the admin leave. 3. Sam's Impact 18F. Sam didn't have immediate financial stress, but she found something far more important. She found a third log entry. Sam, Justin, I found what the CEO meant by the silent partner. It wasn't Sentinel Ventures. Sentinel was just the money funnel. Sam explained that before Mitch locked her out, she ran one last sweep for encrypted comms, focusing on the CEO's archived messages from 6 months ago. Sam, remember the $200K allocated for Project Chimera? That was the original budget for acquiring Vance's IP legitimately. But they went way over budget because Vance found more evidence and demanded $1.05 for silence. The silent partner wasn't Charles Vance. It was someone inside EthaSync, a key executive who was being pushed out as part of the Onyx merger. Sam had a log where the CEO essentially offered this person a massive severance package plus a substantial cut of the merger proceeds, provided they kept quiet about a separate internal compliance violation. Sam, the silent partner, is the chief technical officer, Liam. Liam was leaking development secrets to a competitor for 6 months. The $1.5 million transfer included Vance's payoff and Liam's quiet departure fee, all lumped into the Chimera overrun so the board wouldn't see it. So EthaSync was covering up: 1. IP theft Vance, 2. Internal sabotage Liam the CTO, 3. Systematically punishing 3 essential staff members to pay for it all. I was stunned by the sheer depth of the corruption. It made my denied raise feel even more insulting. They were stealing from us to cover for their own internal criminals. By Tuesday I was ready to crack. I hadn't heard from Mitch or the CEO directly since the 4 a.m. visit, but the psychological warfare continued. My inbox started filling with automated reminder: do not access EthaSync assets emails every hour. Terry received a certified letter warning him that discussing internal operations would result in immediate legal action for breach of contract. Was paralyzed by fear and lack of funds. I couldn't afford to fight and I couldn't afford to quit. That Tuesday evening, Terry and Sam drove over to my apartment. We met in the parking lot outside the complex, too nervous to talk inside in case Mitch had bugged my place. I wish I was joking about the paranoia. Terry looked wrecked. He hadn't shaved and his eyes were bloodshot. Terry, I just got the legal threat. They know I'm the weak link. I'm late on rent, Justin. I don't know what to do. I need to take a crappy job at Starbucks just to pay bills, but I can't look for work while they're paying me admin leave, and I can't afford to quit and lose the admin leave. He was crying, leaning against my beat-up Civic. Terry, who usually tried to maintain this cool, struggling artist facade, was just broken. Me, Terry, listen, we're going to figure this out. We have the data. Sam, sitting on the curb, was scrolling furiously on her phone. She looked up, her expression grim. Sam, the data isn't enough, Justin. Mr. Harrison was right. If we go public, they'll sue us into poverty before we get a single headline. We need leverage that isn't just internal logs. Me, like what? We need Onyx Holdings to know EthaSync is toxic waste. Sam, exactly. The merger is contingent on EthaSync passing due diligence. If we can get this file hydra to the right lawyer or compliance officer at Onyx, EthaSync falls apart and we might get statutory protection as whistleblowers. Me, how do we even find a contact at Onyx Holdings? They're a global. Sam smiled, the first genuine, slightly terrifying smile I'd seen on her in a week. Sam, Terry and I figured that out. Remember how Liam the CTO was leaking development secrets? He wasn't leaking to a competitor, he was leaking to Onyx Holdings. He was selling them internal intel about EthaSync's shoddy code for months, trying to secure a better severance package when the merger happened. That's why he was the silent partner. He was playing both sides. Terry, I found the digital footprint of the stolen development secrets. Liam used a specific encrypted server managed by a guy named David Chen. I traced Chen's public profile. He's listed as Senior M&A Compliance Western Division at Onyx Holdings. I literally stared at them. They had spent the last week while I was stress-eating and panicking, reverse engineering the CTO's sabotage path. Me, okay, David Chen, we need to get Project Hydra to him. Immediately. How, Sam? We can't just email it. It'll be intercepted. We need to mail a physical copy, a hard drive containing all the proof, addressed directly to his office. Terry, I'll handle the packaging. I'll make it look like one of my art commissioned super generic brown box, heavy duty. I'll drive to a city 3 hours away to mail it so they can't trace the location back to us. This felt like the plan. Risky, insane, but the only way forward. 3 days after that, the execution. Terry drove his beat-up Toyota Corolla 3 hours south to San Diego, mailed the package to David Chen at the Onyx Holdings corporate office using a burner phone for all communication. I stayed home pacing. The emotional process was brutal. I wasn't sleeping well. I was constantly checking my accounts looking for the next automated corporate threat. My job, which had been the only stable thing in my life for almost 3 years, was hanging by a thread. I realized I was probably going to lose this job regardless of whether we succeeded. I had a moment of weakness that Thursday. I was so stressed about my finances. The weight of the student loan debt felt heavier than ever, and I almost texted Mitch. I typed out, Mitch, let's talk. What if I just delete the files and we move on? I stared at the draft message for 10 minutes. If I sent it, Terry and Sam would be hung out to dry. I would be prioritizing my short-term financial safety over the ethical truth and the well-being of my friends. I deleted the message. I picked up my phone, called my mom, who lives in Ohio, completely disconnected from all this, and just let myself cry about the money and the rent and the student loans. She couldn't fix it, but she just listened, and honestly, that helped reset my focus. The moment of decision was over. We sent the drive, now we wait. Update: the waiting game. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks went by where absolutely nothing official happened. The admin leave continued. We were in limbo. EthaSync corporate was dead silent. Mitch wasn't calling. The CEO wasn't posting cryptic tweets. This silence was terrifying. Did they get the package? Did Onyx throw it in the trash? Did EthaSync figure out the plot and were just biding their time before the mass firing? Terry was getting restless. He took a gig painting murals for a local community center, which was great but stressful. Sam was back in college classes but constantly monitoring news feeds looking for any mention of the Onyx/EthaSync merger, and then on a Tuesday morning something broke. It wasn't news, it wasn't a call. It was a mass email sent to all EthaSync staff, including us 3 on leave. From EthaSync Legal Department subject: immediate organizational restructure and termination of merger discussions. The email was dry, boilerplate legal text, but the message was a nuclear bomb. Due to unforeseen challenges in organizational alignment and strategic incompatibility, EthaSync Games has officially terminated all discussions regarding the proposed acquisition by Onyx Holdings, effective immediately. Furthermore, due to executive leadership instability, Mr. Mitch Hansen, department head, and Mr. Liam Davies, chief technical officer, have left the company to pursue other interests. The current CEO is taking an indefinite sabbatical. They didn't mention us. They didn't mention the $1.5 million. But the merger was dead, Mitch was out, the CEO was gone, and the CTO was out. The Project Hydra package had landed. I immediately called Sam and Terry on Signal. Did you see that? It's over. The merger is dead. Terry shouting, oh my god, IT worked. We blew up the whole thing. Sam, hold up. It's a victory, but they haven't mentioned us and we are still on administrative leave. They are trying to quietly dissolve the company's structure and leave us in limbo so we can't sue for wrongful termination, and we can't claim whistleblower status because the crime is technically unproven. Sam was right. They killed the merger and sacrificed the execs, but they left us, the little guys, still hanging by a thread, financially vulnerable. The next day, Wednesday, the second, more personal email arrived. From HR Acting Department Head. Subject: Conclusion of administrative leave. The internal security investigation has concluded. Due to demonstrated violations of network protocol and unauthorized data access, the employment of Justin Gallagher, Samantha Brooks, and Terry Patel is terminated immediately, effective today. You will receive your final paycheck, including all accrued PTO, within 10 business days. Please consider this a formal notification. Do not attempt to access EtherSync digital or physical assets. Your separation terms include a non-disparagement clause that strictly forbids the discussion of internal financial matters. We were fired, no surprise there. But the key was the non-disparagement clause. They were trying to silence us permanently with the threat of lawsuit. I immediately forwarded the termination email to Mr. Harrison, the expensive lawyer. The aftermath: unraveling the mess. Mr. Harrison called me back within the hour. Mr. Harrison, Mr. Gallagher, this is good. The fact they fired you after the merger dissolved and included a desperate non-disparagement clause means they are terrified of what you know. They are hoping you take the final check and disappear. Can they sue us if we break the clause? Mr. Harrison, they can try. But you have documented proof of corporate misconduct, IP theft, cover-up, internal sabotage that far outweighs any minor network protocol violation. If they sue you, you countersue for wrongful termination and use Project Hydra as your evidence. They know this. That clause is a bluff. The lawyer confirmed what Sam had suspected. Our leverage was the public narrative. Since Onyx pulled out, EtherSync was going to be desperate for cash and trying to save face. They wouldn't risk an actual public lawsuit that confirmed they were criminals. The realization hit me: we were free, and they couldn't touch us if we were smart. But freedom didn't pay the bills. Financial reality check. The day after we were fired, my stress-induced migraine was so bad I almost went to the ER. My biggest problem wasn't EtherSync anymore. It was the $1,247 rent, the $400 missed loan payment, and the fact that I was now officially unemployed at 44. Terry was facing eviction. Sam, who still lived at home, was terrified for her brother's financial stability. We had won the battle for corporate justice, but we were losing the war for survival. Terry, who was surprisingly energized by the firing, came up with the idea. Harry, okay, we have the evidence. We know how dirty they are. Let's not go public with the lawsuit yet. Let's go public with the story. You mean post Project Hydra on Reddit? Terry, no, too easy to censor. We need a real journalist. Someone who will verify the logs and the dates. Sam had a contact. A former college roommate's sister who worked as a financial investigative reporter for a major tech blog, the kind that specialized in covering startup failures and corporate fraud. Sam made the connection. We sent the entire Project Hydra file sanitized to remove any unnecessary personal details to the journalist. We told the reporter everything: the raise denial, the stipend cuts, the $1.5 million payoff for the stolen IP, the subsequent exec firings. 2 weeks later, the article dropped. It was brutal. Headline: EtherSync Games collapse, the $1.5 million payoff that killed a major tech merger. The article didn't mention us by name, referring only to 3 key community staff members, but it cited the exact figures, the dates, the names of the executives, and the non-disparagement clause EtherSync attempted to enforce. It quoted the financial impact on staff who were denied critical compensation adjustments to cover the fraud. The fallout was instantaneous. EtherSync became a total pariah. Their stock, which was minimal TBH but still tanked. Their social media channels exploded. The community we had served turned on them completely. The real resolution: it's been about 2 months since the article dropped. The chaos subsided, but the financial wreckage remained. I still owe the student loan payment plus late fees. I had to drain my small savings to cover the rent for 2 months, and I started driving for a rideshare app at night to make ends meet. It's embarrassing, NGL, sitting in my Civic picking up drunk college kids, but it's income. Here's the update on the key players. Terry Patel, 23M. Terry is thriving, weirdly enough. The community center mural gig led to several high-profile commissions. He used the attention from the collapse and a little discreet networking to gain massive social media traction. He's doing well enough to cover his rent now and is actually saving money. The artistic fulfillment completely eclipsed the garbage mod stipend. He finally found his footing after being forced off the toxic corporate ladder. Terry's growth was the most significant. He was so terrified and financially desperate when this started, but facing eviction and potential legal threats made him realize he needed to invest in his own talent, not in EtherSync's lies. He's still furiously documenting everything. He even keeps a framed copy of the termination email on his desk, he says, as a reminder of the toxicity. Samantha Brooks, 18F. Sam is a bona fide legend. The journalist who wrote the expose hired her as an occasional technical consultant, recognizing her ability to parse complex network data. She's now applying to transfer to a better university, specializing in cybersecurity, and she's financially independent from her protective family now. She's learned that her coding skills are worth far more than any mod stipend. She's still deadpan, still wearing protective sibling armor, but she is confident and secure in her genius. Justin Gallagher, 44M. Me, I'm okay. I haven't landed a new full-time community manager gig yet. The job market is tough and explaining a mutually agreed upon separation after a corporate scandal is complicated tbh, but I finally feel free. I'm eating ramen every day, but I don't have Mitch's toxic face showing up on my Ring app at 4 a.m. I don't have that dread of logging into the Discord server anymore. I finally called the student loan company and explained my financial situation. They weren't exactly sympathetic, but they put me on a temporary forbearance plan. It delays the payments but gives me breathing room. It's a small victory, but it meant I could afford to buy new tires for the Civic. My biggest win was realizing that documenting everything, the texts, the logs, the bank statements, didn't just protect me legally. It protected my sanity. When Mitch was trying to gaslight me about my performance and the company was trying to frame us as disgruntled failures, I had the receipts. I could look at the file and know without a shadow of a doubt that I was right and they were criminals. I am working on rebuilding my professional network. I've been incredibly honest in interviews, not about the fraud, but about my desire to work for a company with integrity, and I've been emphasizing my crisis management skills, which are apparently stellar, given I survived a C-suite meltdown. One last thing, totally irrelevant but necessary. Last week, I saw Mitch at a Starbucks near my apartment. He looked haggard. He was wearing an ill-fitting suit instead of his usual Patagonia vest. I literally hid behind the giant pyramid of lemon loaves and watched him. He didn't see me. He paid for his coffee with a visibly distressed expression, and the barista had to repeat the total twice. The satisfaction was fleeting, NGL, but it was there. He lost his six-figure job and his status. We lost ours, but we kept our integrity and, more importantly, our ability to earn a living doing what we love, Terry, or using our true skills, Sam. I still have that hard drive locked away in the 2017 tax documents box. I still have the student loan debt staring me down every single morning. This isn't a clean ending. There was no big payout, no one apologized formally. But I learned that sometimes the only thing you can control when corporate sludge tries to drown you is the narrative. I'm setting a boundary now. I will never work for a company again that doesn't have absolute visible financial transparency. I will never work 50 hours a week for a company that calls me an asset to be silenced. I'm typing this update from my spare bedroom, which is now just a spare bedroom again, not a frantic command center. It's 10:30 a.m. and I'm about to go apply for a freelance community consulting gig. I'm taking control of my own compensation now. Yesterday, I watched a stupid TikTok about a dog trying to catch a laser pointer, and I laughed so hard I almost choked on my instant coffee. I realized in that moment I'm going to be okay. Anyway, thanks for letting me vent all this out. It helped more than you can imagine. We'll update if anything else insane happens, but honestly, I hope the next chapter is incredibly boring. Wish me luck, I need it.